this reminds me of freshness.
Yeah, that's the cost of recording late in the day. Then it's like
Do you think
quality of intro.
we will upset the people that are watching while they're cycling?
I'm just drinking apple juice.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
Wait.
Yeah, remove it. Damn it. Now they know.
I know.
So if you're only listening, go check it out on YouTube. Then you'll laugh for about a second and then go like, okay, next.
Those Danish idiots.
What?
Danish/German idiots again.
Thank you. Thank you for correcting.
Okay.
But segue. We spoke last time about rapid experimentation.
Yep.
Sorry. We spoke about continuous improvement last
You
time.
know what? Actually, maybe I take this away from you now.
No, I'm tired. I spent the entire weekend working outside in the garden. Look at my hands. This is not like...
I saw that. You touched a rake for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
boom.
And I was like, oh no. No, last time we talked about continuous improvement.
Yes.
Which is a way for you to basically compound performance over time. The more things you improve, the better performance,
Yep.
et cetera. But one of the things continuous improvement does not do is deliver entirely new things. So taking things from 0 to 1,
Yep.
that is not great at, if at all. It's not even developed for that purpose, to be honest. And if you want to grow or grow faster, it is a given you're going to need to develop more new motions, more new initiatives for you to acquire new customers.
Yeah. And I think this can go all the way from, this typical enterprise motion or new market, where you take something from 0 to 1. It can also be things on the micro level than that, right? So it's basically still about the S curve,
Yeah.
but not everything needs to be a massive thing. There can also be smaller versions of that throughout your funnel and throughout your revenue engine.
And so one of the classic examples, so we're talking back when Twitter was cool, 5, 6, 8, I don't know, long ago.
Some people will probably say it's cool again.
Let's table that one, but so what Twitter did really well in the early days of growth was they ran rapid experiments. So they were testing a lot of new things at scale, and that helped them outpace a lot of the competition and grow faster. The same goes for
Like MySpace.
yeah. The same goes for Dropbox. I mean, I think everyone will remember the growth hack they had around, hey, refer a friend and get more storage space, right? Really cool.
No, also this thing that they did with universities. Remember that?
No.
Okay, well, not everyone apparently is going to remember that then, but basically kind of they did the whole thing, hey, here's a university ranking, and the more people that can sign up from those universities, then the university is going to win. And basically kind of everyone who then signed up under that university.edu got like, I don't know, a lot. I don't know what it was back then.
No.
A gigabyte was a lot, I think.
Yeah.
A gigabyte of free storage for 5 years or something like that. Anyway.
But so they obviously grew pretty fast because of that trick. However, they had a lot of testing happening that led them to that point in time. And that is really the kicker at the end of the day, right?
Yeah,
they had
but
figured out.
I think the importance here in that little story is that it wasn't that they were thinking about this, sharing concept and we're tweaking it to get it right. They did a lot of different concepts at the same time.
Yeah.
And then this particular one took off by a lot, right? And obviously when it then took off and when it went from 0 to 1, then, I'm sure they applied continuous improvement, got it even better over time and so forth. But that's kind of the distinction that we're trying to outline here.
And so I think we're gonna start by jumping a bit into one of the challenges we see, at least happening at the moment today, faced by a lot of businesses. And one of them, at least that you and I have talked about previously, is when you look at new things you want to develop as a business, there's a tendency for them to be very big bets, and there's a tendency for them almost always to be part of the plan.
And I think sometimes you just don't have the luxury to not have them be there. And I think this is the situation that many people then are being faced with, trying to hit a specific target, and especially early on when things are still super in flux. So we're still talking pre 5 million or something like this. Then it's, hey, let's try this thing, and this thing really needs to deliver X, and otherwise it doesn't work. I think as you scale and as you kind of hit plus 20, plus 50, plus 100 and whatever, I think those bets become a little bit less impactful in your ongoing planning. And you will probably also have some more maturity in saying like, hey, we can't have that in here and then completely miss, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a thing that is more pronounced earlier in a company lifetime, where you basically you pretty much don't have the luxury not to do it. Right?
Yeah. So what we wanted to do was effectively to run through some examples that are outcomes of experimentations that we have experimented, but perhaps also discuss some of the frameworks you can apply in your own business to basically get going with rapid experimentation as a business.
That's it. Do you want to take those things?
Should we start with a failure or success? We've usually only have success stories, but we also prepared one that wasn't.
I mean, let's start with the success.
So you want to do a shit sandwich?
That's
basically,
it.
yeah.
That's it.
Okay, so maybe let's take just a few steps back before the test even appeared, actually. So we basically implemented a process for testing at the marketing team at Falcon way back in the day. So this is probably 5 years ago, so not that way back. But we implemented a process. This was really inspired by Sean Ellis's book, Hacking Growth, where he outlines a simple framework where you pick an objective. For us, it was, hey, can we generate 25 more inbounds per month? Just to keep it super simple and get ideas flowing. And then you develop a backlog of ideas and you score them against ICE. So it's a scoring framework, impact, confidence, and ease of implementation. And then you have an average ranking of ideas. And we would then prioritize ideas using those averages and pick what is most likely to succeed against that objective.
Yep.
And one of them that we got, it was basically, so we had introduced a contact us page because we didn't have one, didn't exist. So people didn't, the only way to get in touch with us was request a demo. And through the contact us page, we saw we were getting a lot of questions about the product. Can it do, does it support this channel? Can you schedule something for this channel, whatever, right? And our hypothesis was, well, probably there's a bunch of people who have questions, they can't find the answer, and they can't be bothered filling in a contact us form and waiting. So they're just going to bounce. So we said, what if we implement web chat as a test? And I think normally a project like that, you're looking at, if you want to do it, perfect quotation marks, you're looking at a couple of months because you do need people to staff it. You do need training and how do you handle the questions you're going to get? What if it's a customer? How do we route them to CX? And there's a bunch of things. How do you measure performance? How do you integrate it into the system? You can kind of keep going down that rabbit hole. We spent 2 weeks on it. We literally talked with the manager of all the SDRs and said, hey, we want to test this out. Do you have 2 people who would be great for it? And it's like, yep, let's do it with these 2 people. We can staff it probably on average this amount of time per day. And then we just agreed to get going. We didn't think about how do we pass the leads. It was literally in a spreadsheet at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And what we saw, it basically significantly increased the opportunity production even for us doing so.
But let's actually unpack this a little bit. So number one, did you come up with a solution because you heard about Drift and we're like, oh, let's figure out how we can squeeze Drift in here?
No, because we had picked up an objective. We had picked on an objective. And I think there was a trend of companies adding web chat to the websites back then that we were noticing. And then I think the real kind of aha moment was people were asking very specific product questions via email.
But I mean, usually, other people would say, okay, I think we need to have something like an FAQ page or something like this.
Yeah.
Right? This could have been a solution as well. Why did you go for Drift in that case? Or for web chat?
Well, because we thought the interaction would kind of enable you to then unearth, hey, is there actually legitimate interest?
Yeah.
And should we then showcase something with an FAQ page? We wouldn't be able to. And we did have a help center where people could go and search, but it was just, sometimes you also have that, I just want an answer to my specific question. I don't want to research it.
No, I mean, it's one of those things where you basically then rather go on Google, ask a question for falcon.com or Falcon.io or whatever we had, and then you find the page. You wouldn't be on the homepage and have any chance of finding that ever, right? So, and this is then where web chat basically came in and was really helpful. And this then, yes, so this is how it went from 0 to 1. I still remember that. And then we obviously, you know, after those 2 weeks started to continuously improve, right? We had like those playbooks and those bots, and we staffed it differently, and we gave it to the inbound SDRs and all of that stuff, right? So there was a lot of then additional stuff after we proved out the initial case.
Yeah. And I think that's the cool part. You can then, go back and listen to continuous improvement if you bring something to one. I think it's also about accepting that you don't need to deliver something final. And I think it also requires that you have buy-in from your stakeholders around you and the involved teams as well. I think at that point in time, obviously, if I went to the Remy operations team, there might have been some feelings around the tool not integrating what tool we select, but the whole idea was it's a test, so we can always change it.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes requires also some understanding and buy-in from the organization. I think this is sometimes a bit hard to come by, right?
Yeah.
And I think by now, because we chose this web chat example first, it's also clear to everyone, okay, this is not, big, massive product rolled out or a big something else. It's kind of something smaller. And then over time, I mean, this 25 opportunities that kept on growing into something else, right? And became actually a revenue stream in itself. Very similar though in behavior to the demo request, right? Kind of was very, very similar in that behavior, right? Cool. I'll go next.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll go with no, let's talk about PLG because that's cool.
Yeah.
And first let's do a also from the Falcon time, but basically kind of a very, very simple, easy piece that we tried to roll out, which obviously wasn't so simple after all. But the hypothesis was that, we looked at our competitors, we talked about this in another episode as well, and we got inspiration because a lot of them were able to execute PLG. Didn't call it like this back then. It was just self-serve really well, right? They were able to acquire a bunch of different customers from that, get them through the door, and then upsell them later on. And we were basically wondering, okay, so why can't we do that? And how would we do that actually? And basically what we ended up doing is very simple. We obviously aligned with all the different stakeholders, say we're going to do this, and are we okay, high five and everything. But we basically didn't change anything in the product. We didn't change anything in Salesforce and the tool and the lead flow, nothing. The only thing we did is we created a landing page with a bit of pricing, bit of words, and then a open trial or buy now button.
Yeah.
None of those buttons actually worked.
No, you couldn't put in a credit card and you wouldn't get access to the product right away.
Nothing. But you could still hit the button, start trial, fill in a form, which still felt like, oh, I'm about to go in.
Yeah.
Then people completed the form, and then there was like a thank you. We'll open up a trial for you in like latest probably 24 hours. Unless it's a Friday, it's probably gonna be later. And then basically behind the scenes, we had then a workflow for someone to create their trial, send them the login, and so forth. It was all terrible, it wasn't encrypted. Even when we sent them like, hey, your password is 1 2 3 4 5 6. Please change it.
Yeah. Here's that help article.
And the same for the buy now button. It's like, the buy now button. And then I think we even had like a MasterCard and a Visa logo.
Yeah,
and
we
stuff,
did.
We made it really feely, like it would be this. But, you put this thing in, and then the next logo step would be put in your credit card information, then nothing.
Yeah.
And instead we send you a DocuSign, basically. This was an extremely simple way to get it from 0 to 1. We obviously didn't have great conversion rates or something like this. We're also really careful to funnel traffic to that website and so forth. But basically, we had some people request a trial. We had some people buying this thing.
Yeah.
And it was so weird when suddenly in Slack there was an announcement, just an automatic trigger.
Yeah.
That we closed a deal for $120.
Yeah.
Our usual ticket size was around $1,000 actually, and then suddenly this thing came through. So it was kind of cool. Unfortunately, I think the Falcon guys, after you and I left, they never really took it to the full extent of a next level. It was still this side project, but they did take it to a trial actually functioning. It's shutting off when it needed to shut off, and parts of the platform being segregated away. So you only had kind of this one piece, and they did get some revenue through, but nothing that was substantial enough. And in order for us to achieve that, it would have been this typical, continuous improvement, right? We really need to kind of build this out. Yeah.
But I think that's also like the most important thing for the business here is if you had spent the time in R&D with the revenue operations team, that would have been a massive project.
To be honest, you know what? And maybe I just omitted this really interesting part of the story. So this was the third time we tried it. This was the third time. We always had this idea, hey, it should be easy to just sign up. Why can't we? Why can't we? Why can't we? And every time previous to that, we basically were like, okay, let's dedicate product resources. We need to get it picture perfect first. We need to at least make the trial shut off. We need to at least not give them all the capabilities, because what if someone is cheating this and suddenly they're inviting 1,000 users and suddenly it's Coca-Cola on there. And none of these things ever happened, obviously. This is also around the time where we came up with, if someone is inviting 1,000 users and it's Coca-Cola, then that's called a champagne problem. Let's get to that champagne problem, please.
No, but I remember having a conversation with R&D around them. Hey, we have to shut this trial down because apparently they are posting 100,000 messages every 15 minutes. So we need to shut it down now because it's pulling down performance of the entire platform. But I think also that's the beauty when you
But that was not an essential, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Really?
But I think that is the beauty of running the testing, because then you get the insights of what are some of even the precautions that you're going to need to take if you really want to bring this forward further, right? And I think that knowledge, again, is super powerful as a business to obtain faster than your competitors.
Okay. You are the next one.
So
do the one that
bad
failed.
News. Yeah, let's do the failure. So I think, funny enough, around this whole self-serve model with pricing, one of the things we did actually want to test was adding pricing to the website. And that was because we got a lot of feedback, especially from people interacting with us through web chat, on email. Just tell me the price. I got to know. And we're like, okay, so the first step we had done was to create a pricing page without pricing. And it kind of worked, right? And then the natural next step of that test was to say, okay, let's add the actual price. Let's say starting from $1,000, and then obviously, disclaimer, the price can change to leave a lot of room to negotiate depending on what the need actually is. And I think
up to that, by the way, massive debates in the whole team. Sales up in arms, flipping tables, shooting away, paper on the desk, and
having
stuff.
Resignation letters ready, and
I need, my quota needs to be reduced by 50%, otherwise I'm gone.
There, people were ready already now. Well, I'm gonna lose the deal if that happened. Like, so a lot of in internal politics, which I think again we were able to pull some of that off because we had backing from, especially my manager and other people in the organization, to actually pull this through and communicate that it is an experiment. This is not the change, the new world we're introducing. And somehow I think that's easier for people to kind of then accept that, it's us testing, and if it doesn't work out, to deliver us more revenue. Just
to be clear, what you guys then ended up doing, so you put pricing on, but you did it in an A/B split test way, right?
Yes. So half the visitors would see the actual price, the other half wouldn't. And a week and a half later, usually the test would run for 2 to 4 weeks to get statistical significance. We had to shut it down because opportunity production for marketing fell 20%.
Well, you didn't have to shut it down. You just learned that doesn't work.
Exactly.
But there was also like some, the thing is like, okay, A/B testing on the website, that makes sense. Let's totally do that. And then there's, for the sales side, so did these guys see the pricing, or did they see, or did they not see the pricing? And also some, we're laughing now. But we also had things like where someone was visiting the website, the pricing, and then basically kind of discussing this with a colleague. And then the colleague visited it, and guess what?
Yeah,
couldn't
this.
see any prices.
Hey, check out this. Like, no, but that's the thing.
Man. Yeah. But that's a learning, executed real quick. And also, I mean, I gotta say, this was successful in the sense of finally we could stop all the ongoing permanent discussions about pricing. I still remember we had lots of negative feedback on all of our Facebook ads because we didn't show pricing and so forth. Yeah. And now we knew, like, yeah, well, for a good reason. So, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you could obviously have continued different permutations of testing. I don't think it's always going to be the case.
No, but also, you know, someone might listen and be like, well, maybe those were the 20% that you really didn't want to have. Maybe this was good. Maybe this was adding efficiency. Could have been, I don't know. We didn't dare to go further that route, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do something that is actually not rapid experimentation, I am realizing now.
Great. Okay.
It's actually a little bit more on the continuous improvement side, but it's a cool story.
Continuous experimentation.
Well, but it's pretty cool. So that's why we wanted to add it here anyway. It's the we call it A/B testing with humans.
Yeah.
So it sounds, I don't know, weird. It sounds fitting for Tony, the German, but otherwise it sounds pretty weird. No, so the idea is obviously when you have a website, for example, right? Or some kind of software or product. It's by now very normal that you do A/B split testing, right? Yeah. One group sees one message, the other group sees another.
Yeah.
For example, if you're on Facebook, Facebook, I don't know, whatever, TikTok, I guess. They apparently have thousands of experiments running at the same time, and they only expose it to 1% of the audience, and that's significant enough for them to then, you know, roll out. The thing is, you usually can't do that with humans, especially in sales, because it would just be crazy to try and do that and say, like, okay, you guys say that and you guys say this, and how do you monitor that? How do you roll it out? How do you enforce it? And how do you then collect the results? And I recruited something pretty awesome from a company at that point called Main Street Hub. They were then later acquired by, I think, GoDaddy. And they had a team, and I don't get the magnitude right, but let's just say 120 guys and ladies, obviously, cold calling, full circle, SMB, yeah? So basically AEs, not SDRs.
Yeah.
I think they had to make 100 calls a day or something like this. And basically the demo and everything was fully scripted.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing was scripted. Yeah. So really, like, the closest you can get to a robocall. Yeah, the closest. And so what they did, and they were like really successful with this whole thing, what they did is out of the 120 folks, they basically created one pod or 2 pods or whatever of 12, a team of lab guys. They basically created 10% of the whole thing was a laboratory. And as we discussed last time, you know, everything was extremely documented. So everything was scripted.
Yeah.
And then how do you roll out the A/B split test? Well, you change the script.
Yeah.
And then for every day, they did it by day. You know, they called the play. Okay, so today we're going to change this part of the script, you know, into this direction. The idea behind it is X, Y, and Z, and that's how we want you to deliver it. And then they went off. Each of them did 100 calls, you know, had, I don't know, thousands of conversations that day or whatever. And when they then saw a significant increase in whatever conversion, whatever, they were like, okay, this piece works. We're gonna roll it out to the rest of the floor tomorrow.
Yeah,
absolutely insane, but it worked insanely good.
Yeah.
So basically, they were able to iterate, and they could do the testing without putting all the chips on the table and say, like, hey, you know, we're gonna change everything now. They could do it in the corner over there and then roll it out to the other people. Now, is that rapid experimentation, how we're currently defining it? Maybe not. Is it continuous improvement? Maybe something in between. But it's just also a cool story we wanted to share.
But I think it's also something that means you can protect. So if you have a sales-led motion, you are in effect competing most likely with other sellers, and they also use scripts. So there's this constant, you know, whenever someone sees a new way to open the conversation, it's going to take about 2 weeks. Then every SaaS company tries the same exact
Maybe.
thing. But I think the cool thing is you maintain the position and kind of continuously improve.
Yeah.
So you could it's the same story for a marketing team running A/B testing on a website where it makes sense to run continuously to keep on optimizing. And the same, by the way, for a product. You would consider the same, right?
Okay. Last example we had. This is again out of PLG world. This time more successfully, I would actually say. So this was not at Falcon, was a Plan Day, and this was a fully sales-led motion, but for $1,000 a year or $3,000 a year. So how does that work? Yeah. Well, it kind of didn't work. It worked because the inbounds we got were like so ready to buy. We had like 40 to 50% conversion rates. And like 1 week sales cycle. That's why it worked. But when you hit those numbers, then there was like, well, wait a minute, do we actually need a salesperson here? And we were listening into some of the calls, and it was all like how-to questions. You know, how do I set up a schedule? And how do I set up the, I don't know, punch clock or something like that? How do I do all of these things? It was not the why should I buy this conversation. It was how do I use the tool? Because in my head, I already have the tool in front of me. Right?
Yeah.
And then we were thinking like, well, wait a minute. If that's true, we could, from a pure optimization perspective, number one, but also from a maybe people don't want to talk to salespeople perspective, which is totally the case. Maybe we can take the salesperson out of it and make it a product-led growth motion. Obviously, lots of people against it because it was a sales-led shop. So how do we do it? Well, number one, again, we didn't get any product resources because no. Also, I was the CRO. I also wanted to keep hitting my targets. So I was also like, I'm not so super sure. And so what we ended up doing is we got, in this case, it was Intercom, another web chat tool, integrated into the product. And then we had someone super junior but super awesome from the team build these walk me like things through Intercom. I forgot what they're called.
Like
sequences or product tours, something like this. And this then led to our first basic assumptions. So what? Okay, you landed this thing. What do you need to do first? And then we built this thing out. And that was cool. I was there. It worked. And then the next thing is, so where are we gonna try this actually? And basically what we then did is we had sales teams in the UK, we had sales teams in the Nordics, we had sales teams in Germany, in DACH, German-speaking region. And we basically deployed this Intercom product to a bot in almost all the other regions that didn't have sales coverage.
Yeah. So no argument against it.
There basically was very little argument. I mean, we had like a mini team in France, and so we waited with that. But basically, that's what we did, and it worked. Yeah. We suddenly had people signing up, and suddenly kind of started working. The first thing we wanted to prove was not that someone is sliding their credit card, but rather that they're coming in and using and creating this aha moment and this habit of using it and so forth. And then once we created that. Then we at least had a basis to improve from, right? And it became an extremely strategic asset in the end because while we were being acquired by Xero, they were a complete PLG shop basically, and they were like, "What do you have all of those salespeople for?" Yeah. And this weird experiment you're running over there in the corner. That will be one of the reasons we're buying this in the end. So please prove to us that you can make this work. I'm maybe pushing a little bit further up than it was, but it was in that direction. Yeah. And then we started rolling it out, and I left at some point, and I'm not 100% sure it worked out, but it was extremely successful. That's what I can say. Was it successful in the sense of like 10 millions a year, or was it just 2 million? It was extremely successful kind of in the overall scheme of things, right? Yeah. And it started with, basically trying to have no friction and going for the easiest piece to prove. And then after that, it's an improvement game versus a 0-1 game.
I at least think what I've noticed is it also changes a bunch of things for the team. I've noticed people become more engaged because it's all of a sudden easier to actually bring ideas through, like, and actually learn from them. And you don't always know. People always have these, this is my idea. I really like it. Let's please implement it. But as soon as you use the word test, everything changes for a lot of people internally, which is really powerful. It indicates that you're going to figure out whether it works or not, and then whether you're going to keep doing it or not.
Yep.
So I think that's one upside. And then obviously you will get learnings from it. Just like with this plan day story, you will get some early signals that this could work. Let's keep.
I also think so. I mean, we've been talking previously about, reducing risk.
Yeah.
And having two big bets, they kind of add risk to your plan and everything. But I think it's even, now that we've talked through this.
Now that we're done.
But the other angle is actually also it reduces risk even for the more incremental stakeholders of a business unit or of a team or something like this, right? Because when we did this plan day thing and I was responsible for the whole number, I didn't feel like, sure, let's be gung-ho and push this through and, have everyone, now needs to go through PLG instead.
Yeah.
It helped me to actually, some proof points here. I can start seeing how this thing is going to come together. So now we can use those proof points to roll it out in the next step and then roll it out to the next step and so forth. It's really how can we not be stupid about trying something new here?
Yeah.
And I think the other piece then around that is also you are sometimes stuck in this chicken egg problem of, well, I can't get the proof points unless I get some of the resources to do it and back and forth, right? And I think what's extremely helpful, and this is why it's also kind of a lean methodology here to a degree, try and find the MVP of MVP for this thing.
Yeah.
What do you really need to get to your next proof point to feel comfortable to invest some more resources? And how could you achieve that, right? And in Falcon, it was basically a landing page.
Yeah.
But I mean, literally,
that
was kind of it. Sure, there were some automations, mini automations, but that was it. Installing Drift on the web page, that wasn't a biggie. Installing intercom on the product, I don't know. Probably was difficult. I don't know those product people, but it was still easy, right? And we could still argue, well, we also need it for the CS use case anyway later on.
Yeah.
And I think finding those easy ways to then try and play the political game a bit better, I think that's the trick.
And I think also if you're sitting in revenue operations, and if you listen to the past episode with the 10% rule to double revenue, you need to look at the full customer journey. And if you can improve 7 things, 10%, then you're there. And I think introducing a framework of rapid experimentation, and there are plenty out there if you actually Google for it, it's going to actually help you improve performance in the long run.
That's it.
Boom.
Thank you, Mikkel.
Thank you.
It was fun again.
So by the way, I hear you're sending out a pretty cool email soon.
I'm sending. So first of all, join the revenue letter that I'm penning myself with a little bit of help. But at growblocks.com/revenue letter. And the next one will be, I'm actually not going to mention the name where I got it from.
Ooh. Teaser?
Also not in the revenue letter. It's a big company.
Oh, okay.
They're doing a bunch of awesome stuff.
So that was just for me internally to know. Cool.
Oh. Wow.
Oh, that's a good one.
Basically, talking a little bit about some of the early signs of maybe the recession is starting to wane.
Ooh, so back to growth at all costs.
Let's go back to growth. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. No, but there are some early signs, not warning signs, the opposite of that. Where it's like it feels like the snow is melting. Yeah. Little spring flowers are breaking through.
Yeah, I get it.
The sun is breaking through the clouds.
Yeah.
The
how long?
The fallout ash is blowing away.
The last zombie turns into dust.
That's it. Okay. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Thank you. This word juice thing right here make me talk no goodie.
That's how that one happened.
We can keep this in. We can keep that in for YouTube, but just for YouTube.
Yeah.